Your reaction?
Well, the congressman's absolutely right. It's time for Republicans to get to work. There's a lot to get done. 218 is the magic number, and there's no one else that comes even remotely close to having 218 votes to be speaker. So the next speaker will be Mike Johnson. It needs to be Mike Johnson. And look, I think that with respect to these holdouts and the process that we saw develop over the last couple of weeks with the spending bill, I think negotiation and wanting to get some, look, the votes have to be earned. So the speaker does need to earn the votes, and they do need to be persuaded to vote for certain bills. But that's two sides of the same coin. And what Republican members that have been obstructive on this need to understand is that if they're not the ones negotiating with Speaker Johnson will be forced to negotiate with Democrats.
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I spoke with New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney yesterday on Fox Business, and she brought up that exact issue, kind of the bigger picture, if you will. Listen to what she told me.
I support Speaker Johnson 100%. I supported him when he was running, I supported Jim Jordan. I think he's done a very admirable job. He is a 100% America First supporter and very strong supporter of President Trump from day one. This is a dream for the Democrats to hear Republicans so splintered on this. Mike Johnson's job is to run the conference, steer the Titanic away from the iceberg, which is what he did by avoiding a government shutdown, where Joe Biden and the Democrats control the government.
Greg, I mean, obviously that is what markets and investors want to see, not just deliverables when it comes to the agenda, which begins on day one after the election is certified. But if you're going to get any meaningful change done, if you think about it, they've only got 2 years. I mean, they at least have 2 years, but it could only be 2 years, depending on, where the midterms go.
Sure. I mean, the window here is definitely small. I applaud the president-elect to come out and support Speaker Johnson. I think he's a good man. I think he has a very, very difficult job right now. That majority is small, right? And it's very difficult, I think, in his position to navigate through the waters that we have right now without reaching to the other side of the aisle a little bit. But in the end, the broader mission, I think, is more important than any one particular individual at this point. And I think that's why the president came out and said, look, Speaker Johnson is my guy to lead this thing forward.
And Samantha, too, I mean, when it comes to these members that are disruptive, and there are members that are disruptive on both sides. There are some in the Republican Party that are, but then you've also got some in the Democrats. Look at AOC, who, even as strong as Nancy Pelosi, is in a leadership position and able to get those votes and kind of runs with an iron fist. AOC was very combative with her and has been in the past. So we've seen this play out before.
Yes, that's true. I mean, no one leader these days has complete and total control over their caucus. But I would say from a political standpoint, again, Republicans need to recognize if they don't implement President Trump's agenda in the next 2 years, they will lose in 2026. And if they don't like the situation now, then have fun being back in the minority in 2 years in 2026 when there's Republican losses because they didn't do the job that the voters told them they wanted to see done. And again, it's a governing body. I understand these people have principles, especially with respect to the out-of-control, reckless spending that's been happening. Voters have demanded change on that front. But
well, I'm glad you brought that up because, after the certification of the election, the inauguration is on the 20th. What do you think should be priority number one for the House?
Well, it's the Super Bowl of tax, the tax reconciliation bills, renewing the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and the CBO considers that to be spending, and so there will have to be offsets for that. It's going to be a huge undertaking. I think, you'll see President Trump's regulatory agencies do a lot of deregulating to help bring down energy costs and get our economy moving again. But then Congress needs to do its job on things like permitting reform, securing the border. Congress needs to help President Trump out. There's only so much he can do through his regulatory agencies.
We're sitting on more than $36 trillion in debt right now. Fiscal responsibility is I would hope would be the number one priority for this Congress. We shall see.